Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Flo and today's reading challenge is going to be trying to read a book in a day. I'm quite a slow reader and so I've never been able to read a book from start to finish in a day other than when I did my 24-hour reading challenge, which I did before I started my YouTube channel. But that was a mix of audiobook and paperback as well, whereas this is purely going to be reading a paperback. I'm filming this earlier than when I'm actually filming because I want to just literally wake up, start reading it and finish it as quickly as I can. And hopefully it won't take me all day to read the book, but I want to get up and start it straight away. So I didn't want to waste time filming an intro, but also I'm at my parents' house and I get really scared filming videos when they're home, and this was my opportunity to strike because I'm home alone. So I thought I'd film the intro and talk you through the two books I have as an option to read. I've got two very different books, but they're both very similar in length and they're not too big, which will help me get through the book in a day. I'm not setting myself up for failure because I think if I picked, for example, imagine if I picked this book to read in a day, that would be impossible. This is like 3 books in one novel. It's so thick. Whereas this is just under 300 pages, very similar. I think this one is 375 and I think this one's 395. But this one is a fantasy and then this one is a romance. So this one is If We Ever Meet Again, and then this one is Scarlet Princess, which is the first in the Lachlan, is it called Lachlan? The Lachlan Feuds. I always call it the Lachlan series, but I'm a bit of a mood reader and I say that all the time. And so it depends whether when I wake up on the day, if I'm in the mood for romance or if I'm in the mood for fantasy. I actually hope, and if I was mood reading and picking it today, I think I would want to read this one, but I don't know. I could end up just wanting a romance. I've been really enjoying listening to romance novels on audiobook and then reading sort of fantasy, or I've been reading some crime and thriller books at the moment also in paperback, because I find that if you do that, it's easier to follow along, because I listened to ACOTAR on audiobook and I think I really didn't do that book justice because I kept listening to it and not paying attention. So I think if I do this book, I wouldn't ever listen to it on audiobook, whereas if I didn't read this book during this challenge and I still had it on my TBR, I'd probably listen to the audiobook if I could get hold of it for free. So that doesn't close any doors, whereas this one, I could only ever do this one in paperback, and so I'm hoping I'll be in the mood for it. I am actually really in the mood for a bit of fantasy as well, but I do have a couple of other fantasy books on my TBR that I want to read whilst I'm home. So I really don't know which one I'll go for, because I've been, like I said, in a romance mood, but more because we've been in the holiday season recently and I just really like listening to or reading romances whilst in the Christmas and holiday spirit, which is funny because you normally associate Christmas with fantasy or autumn, winter vibes with fantasy books and other worlds, whereas you normally associate romance with summer. But then I don't know, I've been reading some few festive romance books and I think that's got me on my romance hype. So I've been all over the place, but yeah, I've been enjoying romance. So maybe if I'm still enjoying it by the time it comes to do this reading challenge, I'll want to pick that one. But I don't know, it will literally be when I wake up in the morning which one I decide to open. So you will find out when I find out, and I'm gonna do it in a couple of days time. So I'm filming this intro a little bit earlier. Like I said, monopolizing on the fact that my parents are out and I don't get filming anxiety. So without further ado, let's get into it and we'll fast forward and you will see which book I wake up and grab as soon as I wake up to start this reading challenge. I'm hoping that I can finish the book way before the evening. I think I want to surprise myself. Some people can read 100 pages in an hour. That is not me. I read maybe 50 pages in an hour at a good time if I don't get distracted. So yeah, I just want to spend some good quality time trying to read a book in a day and just see where I go. So yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, so I am under no illusion that I look absolutely awful. I have been off work for 2 weeks, supposed to be annual leave, but I have been so ill. I have had the flu, it's been horrible. So it's been a while since I last did the intro because there hasn't been a day where I've been able to do this challenge because I've just been so ill. But it's New Year's Eve tomorrow and I was thinking that might be a really good day to do it because I'm feeling slightly better. And what better way to finish the year than to try and read an entire book, because I'm not going out, I'm not socializing, I'm way too ill to do it. I don't know if you can see my red nose. So I am going to do this reading challenge on the last day of 2023. I'll probably end up posting this video a couple of weeks after, or even like a month after actually filming this, but that doesn't matter. I'm still gonna read and do this challenge now. I thought it would be really fun. So as you know, I'm choosing between these two books, and I actually think I'm gonna go for this one because I've been reading a lot of romance at the moment, so I think this will be like a nice break to add a bit of fantasy to the dynamic. And I got a Kindle for my birthday with cute stickers on the back, and I have trialed Kindle Unlimited, so I think because this is indie published, I could probably get it on Kindle, and I'm reading on my Kindle so much quicker than I am if I read the paperback, which is amazing. I love that. Who would have known that I have been converted to Kindle? I am gonna have a bit of a sick duvet day tomorrow, and I've been waiting for a day where I could like look nice and have makeup on and actually talk properly and go through it, but the like annual leave is creeping up, and there isn't going to be a day soon that I can dedicate to just reading a book. So we're going to do it on the last day of 2023, and I'm going to read this book. I'm going to try and get it on Kindle, and I'm going to wake up and do it straight away. Also, I don't know if I've ever showed you this room that I sleep in when I'm at my parents' house, and like the crazy wallpaper, like not wallpaper, paint, but I added these floating bookshelves to it because I couldn't deal with how much it looks like a child's nursery, so I was like, let me add my own mark. So I've added those shelves in. So yes, that's why the background is a bit chaotic. I'm gonna go to bed now, and then when I wake up, the first thing I'm gonna do is get started with this because I would love to finish this sooner than the evening. I'm hoping it's not like a whole like 20 hours of reading. I am a slow reader, and this is just under 300 pages. I am honestly the slowest reader, so it could well take me into the new year reading this book, and I'm not going to go to bed until I finished it. But if I do, I would really love in the evening to have a bit of a Twilight marathon and like binge watch as many Twilight movies into the new year as possible, because that is the only bit of like excitement I can have. If you can't tell, I am so dead. So yeah, this is going to be like a sick duvet day, but with this book, doing a reading challenge. So yeah, I will see you guys in the morning. So we have had a kink in the plan in that it is almost 10 o'clock and I haven't started reading yet because I'm still really ill. I've read maybe, I think I'm on chapter 2, but that's not actually that much. I think it's about 4 pages, if that. So I'm gonna carry on now. I need to take Lola for a walk at some point as well, but I'm hoping that the slow start will not mean that I am reading all through the night. It started to say my reading speed meant that there was only 4 hours and 30 minutes left in the book, but I don't know if I believe that because it's 300 pages and the novella I read yesterday took me 4 hours and it was 150 pages. I think it's because there's like maps at the beginning of this book and you flick through it, so it adds like, it makes your reading speed quicker, but we'll see. If it is 4.5 hours, it means I can still watch Twilight tonight. So by way of update, I think I'm about 25% of the way through and it's 3:20 in the afternoon. A mixture of taking Lola out for a walk and then reading about 10 pages and then getting really tired and napping. I don't think it was the best idea to do whilst I still don't feel 100% very well, but I am enjoying it. It's giving very like Powerless by Lauren Roberts vibes. I think this is also a YA fantasy series, and it's essentially this princess and her cousin go into this tunnel between, I guess, 2 kingdoms or 2 areas, or I'm not sure, but they're rivals, or like one tried to invade the other historically and they just don't get on, and there's this like tunnel underneath and I think they're forbidden to move between the 2 areas, but her cousin and her were trying to steal vodka from under the tunnel, like with the smugglers or something, I actually don't know. But then the tunnel caved on this side to get back to their kingdom, and then the other kingdom has like captured them and are now deciding what to do with them. So yeah, it's pretty good. Like, I can understand it. I think I struggle sometimes with fantasy, but I think YA fantasy is maybe more my cup of tea because it's a bit simpler, and yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think I would be quicker if I felt a bit better, but I'm 25% of the way through and it says 4 hours and 37 minutes left now. Like, the time kept going up, I guess, because I keep pausing every page and reading really slow, but I'm hoping I can finish it. But I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself because obviously I'm ill. So yeah, a very different reading vlog to normal. But yeah, I also went out for a walk with Lola and the weather is so bad. It's like thunder and lightning out and we got rained on, which definitely hasn't helped. But I'm gonna keep going because I am really enjoying it, and I'm just gonna keep napping in between. Okay, I'm now only 30% of the way through and it's raining so bad outside, so it's quite nice to like sit inside and read this book. But what I didn't mention before was that I'm really enjoying the fact that these chapters are quite short, so it means it's helping me sort of read through it quite quickly. I'm not reading it quick, but you know what I mean, like it feels like you're achieving something, which is helping me keep going. And then I said it's very similar to Powerless, which is because it's like forbidden enemies to lovers type vibe, but I would say I really like the chemistry between the two love interests that are currently like enemies, and I don't feel like they're very obvious in their feelings, and I don't even think either of them have developed proper romantic feelings yet, whereas I felt like Powerless, they developed them quite quickly. So I like the pace of this and I like that it's building up to it, but I'm not there yet. And just, yeah, the chemistry between them and like their little like banter, and the main character, like the girl, I love her. Like she's got like, the authors have clearly done like quite a good like feminist take on this story, and I really like that. I really like that she's a bit of a badass basically. So yeah, those are my thoughts that I forgot to say earlier because my brain is not working. But 30% of the way through, I have just over 4 hours left of the book, and it is 10 to 4. So slowly getting there, but I'm enjoying it. And it's very Powerless vibes, but there are some things that I prefer. It's the next day, it's the 1st of January 2024, and I did manage to finish this whole book in a day. I finished it at around 8:45 p.m. last night, and so I got to watch Twilight, as you saw, but it was a bit touch and go for a bit because of how ill I was. I was honestly so unwell, and when I spoke to my sister, I told her I was doing this challenge, and she was like, I can't believe you filmed that, like you sound terrible, you look awful. So I apologise. Hopefully you can look past the whole sickness when you watch this vlog, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I really wanted to do this challenge at the last day of the year because of the fact that I was so ill. I think it was nice to have a challenge, like whilst I was looking at like Instagram stories and TikToks of everybody getting ready to go out, and I was just bedbound at home, like on the sofa, drinking loads of Lemsip. It was nice to have a challenge and a little bit of a purpose for the day. And it was also nice to add another book to the end of my 2023 Goodreads goal, and also start the year as you mean to go on, not sick, but reading. And it's my favorite hobby, apart from writing, of course, but it's something that I love to do. And so what better way to finish the year than to try and read a whole book in a day. I am such a slow reader anyway, so actually whilst you look at this and you go, that's quite thin, I could definitely read that in a day. It takes me so long to read a book. Even when I'm on holiday, like on the beach, it probably takes me 2 days to read a book. And so it's because I don't know why, like if I'm really obsessed with it and it's like a massive 5-star read, I probably could read it quicker, but it does take me a while. I think because I have to give myself breaks. Like I get tired anyway reading, so I did have to have a lot of naps yesterday to get through it, but I'm really glad I did. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars and I really enjoyed it. It's a YA series, and I know I mentioned yesterday about how the main character Rowan sort of got captured because she tried to smuggle vodka and she was with her cousin, and so she is with the Duke, who I forget his name, but then his younger brother Lord Theodore as well. They take them both into the house and then they decide what to do with them, and they basically come to the conclusion that because in their kingdom, I think it's a kingdom, Socare, they have lots of different clans, and if something impacts the whole like nation, they have to hold a summit in order to decide the outcome. And so Theo's brother decides, like the Duke decides, that having this princess and the princess committing this crime, and this princess being from the like enemy territory Lachlan, that they need to hold a summit in order to decide her fate. But it's weird because at first he's like, we need to decide this like in the summit, and the Duke is very sort of cold, but then by the end he hopes that she survives. It's nice to see that relationship develop. So essentially the summit has been called by the Duke, and then the Duke, his wife, Rowan, and Lord Theodore, who she calls Theo, have to go and travel to this summit, and it takes about 7 or 8 days to get to that summit. And then once they're at the summit, all of the leaders sort of come together and decide Rowan's fate. So when they travel to the summit, of course it starts where they're like enemies, and then it's nice, like each day passes and you see how Lord Theodore and Rowan get closer and closer together, and that's really nice character development. I felt like there was loads of chemistry between them, and it was a nice build up. It was a really nice pace. And I know I compared it to Powerless before because that's a YA fantasy and one of the only other YA fantasies that I've read, and I felt like that relationship between the two main characters in that book was, their feelings got caught too quickly, whereas this pace was really nice, especially for a small book. I think the author did it really well. Well, the authors, it's co-written, isn't it? There's 2 authors. I think they did that really well, and I just loved the chemistry between the characters. And then they get to the summit, and the summit's really cool. And I would say, like, up until arriving at the summit, I felt like the plot was quite predictable, but I think that's a nice thing because with fantasy sometimes I get a little bit lost in it. So it was good that it was kind of predictable. Like, I do like books that are not twisting and turning and taking me to different anxiety levels. Like, I like an easy read, and that's what this was. But there was a plot twist at the end of this book that was amazing, and now I can't wait to read the next book in this series. I love that I read an indie published author's book at the end of the year as well. It was really good. So I'd say 4 out of 5 stars. And it's made me think that maybe I should do a video later down the line about getting into fantasy, because that's what I really started to do towards the end of 2023, was where I started like my fantasy journey, as I've done a vlog. And I think I've maybe learned some lessons about the types of books that I would recommend to somebody getting into fantasy, and maybe the order to do it, and a few tips and tricks. And maybe I'll do a vlog about it in the future, because I think that would have been quite helpful for me had I done that. But this is definitely a book that I would say, if you're getting into fantasy, I highly recommend reading it. So yeah, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed it. I didn't give it 5 because I did find myself, and maybe because I was ill, I found myself sometimes struggling to get, it felt like I was getting through it as opposed to like deep diving into this other world and getting really absorbed in it. But maybe it was because I did it as a challenge as well, and I wasn't confident that I would get to finish it in a day because of A, how ill I was, but B, how slow a reader I am. I managed it. I'm really happy that I did. And if you're watching this and you've stuck with me whilst I've been really fluey and sick, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.